Have I become your enemy because I tell you the truth? I'm going to do this lesson as comprehensively as possible without making it too long, because I know it's going to ruffle some feathers. Psalm 119, 160. The entirety of your word is truth. And from Messiah's own words, sanctify them in the truth. Your word is truth. I'm curious to know how many people would actually agree with those verses. But I'm also curious about the level of agreement when put to the test. But before we get into that, let's talk about a few things. There are three paradigms through which most scientific understanding is filtered through. That's the Big Bang Theory, evolutionary theory, and as we talked about in a previous quick chat, gravitational theory, are still to this day theories. Also take note that I call them paradigms. Dominant sets of beliefs or scientific assumptions that dictate what problems are valid and how data is interpreted. Not facts, beliefs, assumptions, and interpretation. Sounds pretty subjective to me. Now, in regard to these theories, understand these things. The Big Bang Theory tells us that all particles converged on a singular point and then exploded and formed all things, right? Let me ask you something. If you and me are on opposite sides of the country and we start walking without any communication or understanding between us, what's the likelihood that we would meet? Now take that concept and apply it to all particles in what you call the universe. Evolutionary theory posits that all organisms that exist today evolved over time from simple single-celled organisms. Ironically, there's no scientific observation of organisms naturally creating new abilities in themselves on a mass scale. Mutations don't happen often enough to create new species, and the mutations are not so dramatic that new species from different family groups would occur. You've never seen cats produce anything other than cats, never seen birds produce anything other than birds, fish produce anything other than fish, and most certainly have never seen humans produce anything other than human. And aside from that, time actually works against macroevolution, in that with each consecutive generation, genetic information is actually lost rather than gained. When two of a species produce offspring, the offspring gets roughly half of its genetic information from one and half from the other. That would imply that organisms actually get simpler with time, not more complex. Now, gravity is interesting because while you can definitely see an apple fall from the tree to the ground, scientists can't actually explain how that happens. They started off with magnetism, which I don't know how we allowed them to get away with that foolishness. And now they claim it's a concavity in space-time that creates what's known as a gravity well. Much in the same way that if you put a bowling ball in the center of a stretched out rubber mat and rolled a smaller ball near it, that smaller ball would get caught in the gravity well. Well, that might work on celestial bodies like planets and moons, but that doesn't seem to play out here on Earth. You don't feel yourself being pulled into the Empire State Building when you go past it, do you? So if you can't apply this supposed universal concept to everything, then is it really a thing? And there are many other ways to essentially debunk these theories, but that's not really the point. Do you believe in this word or not? For instance, it, meaning the earth, takes on form like clay under a seal. And how scripture talks about a ball in Isaiah 22, but never seems to use that shape to describe the earth. For the pillars of the earth are Yahuwah's, and he has set the world upon them. You who laid the foundations of the earth so that it should not be moved forever. Then Elohim said, "Let there be a firmament in the midst of the waters, and let it divide the waters from the waters." Thus Elohim made the firmament and divided the waters which were under the firmament from the waters which were above the firmament. And it was so. And Elohim called the firmament heaven. So the evening and morning were the second day. The heavens declare the glory of Elohim, and the firmament shows his handiwork. Coincidentally, this particular verse is on the tombstone of Wernher von Braun, the German-American aerospace engineer partially responsible for the creation of NASA, which ironically in Hebrew means to deceive. With him have you spread out the skies, strong as a cast metal mirror? All this really goes back to, who do you trust? Is it man or is it Yah? Man's word or his? And if it seems evil to you to serve Yah, choose for yourselves this day whom you will serve. Remember, let Yah be true and every man a liar. And also, that all scripture is given by inspiration of Yah, and is profitable for doctrine, for reproof, for correction, and for instruction in righteousness, that the man of Yah may be complete, thoroughly equipped for every good work. I don't know about you, but I've seen way too much evidence for Yah's reliability and too much evidence for man's unreliability for me to put my trust in mankind. But you make your choice.